Stories that are untold, underreported, and all-out inspirational. Carey Pena reports.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carey Pena. Thank you so much for listening to Carey Pena Reports and for watching our live feeds on Facebook and YouTube at Inspired Media 360. Be sure to go to our site, inspiredmedia360.com, and subscribe so you can get all of our exclusive interviews and content. On this podcast, we interview people who have highly inspirational stories to share. And boy, do we have a great story for you today. I want to welcome Paula Wichterman. Paula, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
So you recently shot some iPhone video that got a lot of attention. The word viral is overused, but it is sure getting shared out a lot. It was the moment that you finally found your long-lost family. And before we go into the incredible way you found them and how we can all find out more about our own lives, is so interesting, your story, I want to find out a little bit about your background in your childhood. Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, which then was a pretty small town. Now it's getting to be more chic and, a little bit more, there's a lot more people there. And, but back when I was there, it was still kind of a smaller town.
Mm-hmm. Did you always know you were adopted?
Yep. From day one, we had books about, we had a book called Whose Mouse Are You? And, it was always kind of in my story with my parents was, that I was someone that, had gotten brought to them and, that I was a gift. And so they always kind of wove it into daily life.
What were your parents like?
They were incredible. I had a great, childhood. My father was a minister. So I was a little wild in my teenage years. I had to get back at him. But my mom was a nurse, just very, southern, kind of rural, Christian upbringing. It was very, very slow-paced life. It was great.
When you were growing up, did you feel the need or the urge to go seeking out your biological parents?
You know what? When I was younger, I never did. I always felt very complete. I felt very loved by my family, very included in everything. Until I had my first child, that was the moment that I was like, wow, this is a big thing, like to have a child. And then, she gave me away right after she had me. So I think I kind of realized at that point in my life, like, wow, this was such, this was a huge sacrifice. And I never really looked, but I always kind of had it in the back of my mind. So
in fall of last year, you decided to seek out your biological family.
Well, actually, it wasn't a conscious choice. We were watching the Ancestry.com commercial, like we all do, and me not having any sort of idea what my genetic makeup is. I mean, usually if you're in the South, it's some sort of European descent, but my kids were like, you should do that, because the joke is that I can't really celebrate St. Patrick's Day because I don't really know how Irish I am, and they're really Irish. So I said, okay, fine, I'll do the test, so we did it, mailed it in. And I didn't read the fine print that says that they match all of that to their bank of DNA. I just thought it was this cute pie chart that says, where I'm from. And so I got it back, and then I realized kind of Pandora's box was all kind of right there. I was like, all right, should I do this or should I not?
How did that feel when you saw that? I mean,
it was overwhelming. Like, I really thought I was okay with it. And I did have a wonderful, wonderful childhood, wonderful family. But until you have that knowledge, like, so close, it's impossible for you not to kind of start digging. It's very tempting.
So you decided to go on this journey.
Yes. So, and I really didn't think I would ever, this kind of stuff is very hard. There are people, who've been looking for, decades for their family. And I was in a closed adoption, which means I get pretty much no information, and they don't get any information about where the child was placed either. So, I had someone contact me, and I was in a Facebook group. It's a closed group called DNA Detectives. And so I was just on there, and, I posted, here's my story. Is there anybody that has any information that could help me? And I get this PM, and it's, "Hi, my name is Maria. I am a search angel, and it's a hobby of mine. I have a full-time job, but I do this on the side just to help people. Can I help you?" And, I'm thinking, okay, give it a shot. Maybe it's probably not going to work out. And sure enough, it was quick. She figured it out really quickly.
You wrote to me in an earlier email when I asked you what the search in the journey has been like. And you say, "The scariest thing I have done in my life. I have gone through every emotion possible. There have been times when I wanted nothing more than to quit looking, hoping to feel like my normal self again. But the outcome has been the most amazing experience. I have not been this happy in a long time." What did you mean when you said you wanted to feel like your normal self again?
I think when I had no information, it was easier because, I had a great life. I had a great family. But once you have that peace, I told my husband, because there were times when he was like, "You are not okay. Like, I really want you to take a break from this." And I said, "It's like a scab. You just can't stop picking. You know it's bad for you, or it could be bad. But you just have to keep looking." And it's just, it's just all consuming. And as a mom of, 2 kids, my kids, and then 2 of Bill's kids, have something else that's distracting me is not a great thing.
And I want to set the stage for the audience a little more, too, for all of our listeners and viewers that, I've had the good fortune to know you, and you're a very strong woman. You're a businesswoman. You're very smart. You're the leader of your family. This kind of situation makes you vulnerable.
Oh, I am not okay not having full control of my situation. And this was like just careening down the highway with no steering wheel. It was, everything was out of my control, and I do not like that feeling.
Mm-hmm. Did it make you emotional?
Oh, yes. My poor husband, he is a saint.
He's such a great guy.
He was like, "How are you today? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you mad?" And he's just been amazing because and my kids too, because there were days where I was really quiet. When you just have so much weighing on your mind that you just are kind of going.
What was it that was weighing on your mind? Now, you'd opened up Pandora's box, as you say, and that made me think. As I was watching you kind of post a little bit on Facebook, it got me to thinking about learning more about who we are at the core, where we come from.
And before I kind of had figured out all the pieces, the scariest part was, 2 things. Am I going to like what I find, and are they going to like me? And, on a conscious level, I feel, I love myself. I think that I've done, great. But, you kind of turn back into that child, and it really, there's so much tied up in that adoption piece of it, even for adult adoptees.
Why did they give me up for adoption?
Yeah. And it's not, I had friends that were adopted that were very just, very angry about the whole situation. And I was never like that, but it's always been in the back of my mind, like, what really happened? What's the real story?
So tell me when you found out. So through Ancestry.com, you take this test. You find out it's more than just the pie chart.
I'm 44% Irish, though, so I can celebrate St. Patrick's Day.
So tell me when you got the news, how you received it, that they had found your biological father.
So it's kind of a strange story. So Maria, who's my search angel, she lives in Baton Rouge. I've never met her in person, ever. I've talked to her on the phone tons of times, emailed, and she sends me a message, and she says, "I think I've narrowed it down to 3 people, and they're brothers. And they're very close in age, but they all went to the same high school as your biological mom." And, I just kept saying, I'd wait a couple of days, and I go, "Okay, how sure are you? Like, is it 90? Are you 98? And then, she said, "Well, I think you should send a letter." And, there's all kinds of, I don't want to say etiquette, but for lack of a better word, about how you do these introductions. Because there are people on there that find, brothers half brothers that they never knew were out there, and some sensitive situations, and you don't know where they are in their life. They're probably married. They're, have a family.
It's a shock for them.
Yeah. So you have to be respectful. So she said, I'm going to help you draft a letter. So we drafted a letter, and I changed some stuff, and pretty much the gist of it was the story, the dates, all of the identifying information, and then, I wanted to let them know that I'm okay. My life is great. I don't want anything else from you except for a relationship if you want it. Because unfortunately, there are a lot of people that, some people have bad, intentions.
Right.
And so I had these 3 letters, and I had to send them return receipt. So I drove around with them in my car for a very long time. And I would get in, and I'd look over, and I'm like, nope, I can't do it today. Maybe tomorrow. And so one day I was like, okay, I've got to just rip the Band-Aid off. I have to go send these. So I drove through the post office, did all this stuff, and I did it where they had to show their identification, because a lot of times if you send it a different way, a spouse could get it and they could throw it away.
Okay.
So I sent the letters off Friday, and Tuesday I'm sitting at my computer and I get a friend request on Facebook from one of the guys. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I have my phone number on there, And so I click accept, and then I get a PM that quick. And it said, here's my phone number, call me. And I sat there for probably about 10 minutes. I was like, okay, so I have to prepare myself, because I could call them and they could say, please don't contact me anymore. And that was my worst fear.
Yeah.
So I sat there for a while, and I was like, okay, that's the worst. You know what the worst thing is? Like, everything else is gravy after that, so just call. So I picked up the phone, and Terry answered, and he said, well, I'm really sorry. He's like, but I'm on vacation. I'm in Hawaii. So his brothers got the letter, and he didn't get it because he was out of town. So, of course, I have great Southern guilt. I'm like, oh, my gosh, I'm so sorry. You're on vacation. And, we sat there and talked, and he was like, yeah, I dated your mother in high school. And, my brothers didn't. So, I think that this is a match.
How did you feel having that conversation?
It's still overwhelming. I felt really, really happy that I had found him, and he seemed so kind, which is kind of, he and his 3 brothers, he has a brother who, I believe he's an engineer. The other one has a job with, I believe, the city of Greenville, and then he builds custom Harleys. Mm-hmm. So, of course, my family and friends were like, oh, it's the Harley guy. Like, we know you. It is the Harley guy. I'm like, why? So, but he's so kind on the phone, and he was like, he's talking, and he goes, just as a kind of sideline, he goes, and I never had any children.
Wow.
And I went, whoa. I'm like, so you never had children? I'm like, you're 61 years old and you never had kids. He's like, nope, never did. He's like, I always wanted to.
Did he know that your biological mom had gotten pregnant?
She never told him. So that was another, I think, definitely for him and his family, because they're so tight. They love each other. They like each other, which, anyone, you always love each other, but maybe not like. But they just love each other so much. And I think part of us getting together, they've said, if we would have known, we would have raised you. So there's kind of a sense of loss and, these feelings you go through. I mean, there's a lot of grief. There's, kind of mourning things that could have been, Well,
that's what I want to talk about. So when you made the decision to go and meet him in person, and I want to take a pause here to play the video. And for those listening to the podcast, what happens in the video is you're coming down the escalator at the airport, and his family is there with balloons and a sign that says, "It's a girl." Here's the video. Take me to that moment.
So I'm not a huge crier, When I get going, though, it does not turn off. But my husband goes, "Do you think you're going to cry?" And I'm like, I think I'll be fine. And when we got on the escalator, I turned around to him and I said, "Look at my hands." And my hands were just shaking. And I think you can see it in the video. And I said, "Watch." I go, "I'm going to fall down this escalator. That's going to be my first debut to my family as I trip and fall down the escalator." And as soon as I saw that first pink balloon come over the horizon, that was it. I was just done. I'm like, I couldn't get down that escalator fast enough. So,
what did it feel like to be embraced by them like that?
It felt like home. Like it felt like I finally was, with my people and people that look like me and people that have hands like me. It's weird, even though I had so much growing up and I love my family, to have that kind of familiar tie, and we do things alike. Like, we were out, a couple days later and they go, "Oh my gosh, she even walks like you." And I'm like, "So are you saying he walks like a girl or I walk like a guy?" I'm like, I hope I don't walk like a dude. But
the way he embraced you.
Yeah. I mean,
now you're making me cry.
I know. But, he's this, big, burly 6'2", 230 guy, and he just has the biggest heart. And I knew that every conversation I had with him, but to get to hug his neck and actually be there and just feel the love from all of them. And, there were 30-something people that, took time off in the middle of the day to drive to the airport and then they had a party 2 nights later. There was probably 100-something people there. It's a very close-knit community, and I could just feel he had so many friends and people that just love him and love their family. I mean, I'm getting Facebook messages from people I don't know that are like, "Oh my gosh, I grew up with all, him and his siblings, and we just love them and their family." And, there's a lot of, their mother, my grandmother, passed away last year. So, and they say that I look a lot like her. So I think it's brought up a lot of feelings for them, but I think a lot of it is some healing too. But we're all just very sad that I didn't get to meet her, and I would have been the first grandchild. And it's a kids. There's 7 kids, so there are a lot of grandchildren, and everyone wore a name tag. Thank goodness.
What was the first thing he said to you?
You can hear it in the video. He goes, "Oh my God," he goes, "You look like a knight," because their last name is Knight. And that he said that his brothers told him that when he was in Hawaii, when they called him, they go, "Terry, she looks like one of us."
What do you think your story represents?
I would hope courage. It was, we have wonderful kids, and raising kids is hard, and marriage is great and hard, and life in general, but there were so many opportunities for me to have quit, and I really sometimes really wanted to, but I really want people to know that just to stick with it. And sometimes you don't get the story that you want, sometimes you don't get the pink balloons, but you get a piece of you back. And Terry said this to me on the phone. He said, "I feel like a piece of me was broken off and I've just gotten it back." And that's the way it feels. It feels like you kind of have some closure, and close the circle, and just get that inner peace that your story.
Now, I do want to mention, it's very important because you said this in the beginning, but you love your adoptive parents have been wonderful. Your adoptive mother passed away, correct?
She did.
But they were both, she and your father were both supportive of this journey, and I think that is so important to underscore.
Yep.
That you had the support from them and that they don't feel in any way sort of rejected by you reaching out.
Yeah. They have been great. My mom always said, I will support you. I didn't do, go through my search while she was still alive, but I know she played a part in it somehow. And
now you are sort of sharing your story with the world. You dipped your toe in there a little bit. You have a YouTube channel. People are actually asking about this video. It's being seen, and it's obviously touched people in pretty deep way.
Yeah, and we had people, we went to eat right after we left the airport, and we went 20 minutes away, and someone stopped us in the restaurant, and they go, "Hey, we were at the airport. What, if you don't mind, what's the story?" And we told them, and we tell people, and they start crying, like they get tears in their eyes, but tears obviously of joy,
Yeah.
and to see that in people, and to have a very hopeful ending to our story, and such a great beginning, of us, getting to enjoy each other as a family. I think it makes people, it warms their heart a little bit.
Yeah, we need more stories like that,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
And you say on your YouTube channel, this has been 43 years in the making, and the discovery was made possible by Ancestry.com and a search angel who helped me research the DNA. What do you want to say to that search angel? This woman who just does this out of the goodness of her heart.
Yeah, she has a full-time job, and I asked her one time, I said, "Why, like, what is the deal with this?" She goes, "Well, my husband really likes football, so while he's watching football, I just do this."
That is so great.
So she has been so amazing, and I never would have figured this out. There's no way.
You're going to see your family again soon, right? Did I see a Facebook post?
Yes, he's going to meet his grandchildren we're going back on the 24th.
I love the story. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And it's just amazing to see that the pink balloons.
Oh, I know. I could cry thinking about it again.
I love it. I can't get enough. Thanks to all of you for listening and watching Carey Pena Reports. And you can find us online at inspiredmedia360.com. And we do have some new shows coming very soon, including, I'm very excited about this, a health and wellness podcast. So be sure to go online and subscribe. And you can also find us on Facebook at Inspired Media 360. Today's show produced and engineered by Shannon Hernandez, brought to you by Inspired Media 360. Until next time, stay inspired.